Well, Steve, the one signing that the Mets did get, they're not, there's nothing going on at the winter meetings, but there was a lot of hype and pursuit on both ends for David Stearns. He was the big acquisition, especially, considering how long they waited to hire one. And without a GM, with Billy Epler stepping away, David Stearns kind of steps into that spotlight. How do you think he's filled the shoes? Has he lived up to the hype? Obviously, there's not a huge amount of things going on, but how do you think he's done so far since he became the Mets president of baseball ops?
Yeah, I think he's been as advertised, and obviously we're at the very, very tip of the iceberg here. There's a lot more that's ahead, and there's a lot more going on. But David Stearns has the reputation he has for a reason, and there have been a couple of things that have stood out to me in our conversations over the last couple of days. One in particular that I think should be viewed as a really good sign from a Mets fan's perspective. He was talking a lot about needing to leave space open for young players to come up and get an opportunity and to really give them a chance to show what they can do. And I think that's so critical with where this organization is at right now, where it's clear that they are thinking more long term right now. That's not to suggest they're not going to field a competitive team next year. They do want to make a run at the playoffs and be in contention, but it's with a long term goal in mind. And I think that sometimes, especially organizations in New York, especially organizations with a lot of money, and the Mets have more money than any organization in sports, they tend to get tantalized by what can help them in the near term. And if there's a guy out there that can make the 2024 roster look much better. But sometimes that comes at the expense of seeing what you've got at the lower levels. And not to make too much of a cross-sport comparison, but it's no secret how much of a Rangers fan I am. And, I look at what's happened with them this year. They're the top team in the NHL in large part because they finally let their number one overall pick, Alexis Lafreniere, just have an opportunity to thrive and to play with Alexis Panarin. That's how big of a Ranger fan I am right now. No, Artemi Panarin. Sometimes you've got to give talent room to shine. And so that doesn't necessarily be right at the start of the season, but your Acuñas, your Gilberts, you've got to see what they can do. And so the fact that they're being a little more cautious and not saying, well, we're going to go out and we're going to sign a Matt Chapman just because, that to me is a good sign about what David Stearns is doing and the thinking that he has, the long-term vision with this team.